Hello everyone, today I'll be presenting on Midtown Sacramento. The demographics for Sac County specifically, the population of Midtown downtown area in 2023 was noted to be 129,000, with that population number increasing. The income levels, according to the 2024 census data, is that the median income was 94,000. Unemployment percentage was at 4.4% for adults. And ethnic makeup, it's a more culturally diverse population. However, the non-Hispanic white population was at 40.9%, and life expectancy was noted to be at 78 years old. For the county health ranking and health indicators, the overall health ranking was 26 for health outcomes in 2022. For the physical environment health indicators, there was noted to be that 22% of households experienced at least one of the following housing issues, which include overcrowding, high housing costs, etc. Drinking violations were also noted in at least one community water system. 14% of children lived in poverty. On the positive side, 99% of people lived close to a park or recreation facility. And then 38% of adults reported getting fewer than 7 hours of sleep per night on average. And 34% of adults had a BMI of 30 or greater. And 38% of adults noted feelings of loneliness. For the housing and zoning SDH, Midtown has a mix of old houses as well as, from the early 1900s and modern apartments scattered among each other. Most are in good shape, but there are some older buildings that are also vacant, which shows uneven investment in our community. And there were recent zoning changes allowing for more multi-unit buildings and increasing housing, but that also increases rent. And so for a lot of our long-time or low-income residents, affordability and stability are becoming more of a concern. For open spaces, Midtown has plenty of open spaces, those being Fremont and Roosevelt Park, as well as the Sutter's Fort Park on the right. They're busy every day with people walking their dogs, relaxing, or exercising. These spaces are clean and welcoming, but also are used by unhoused individuals as areas for them to relax as well. Overall, the green spaces keep people active, support mental health, and give people a place to connect. For boundaries, Midtown follows a clear grid system, lettered streets running east to west, and numbered streets running north to south. As soon as you leave the grid, the feeling of the whole scenery, it changes. So that's how you know that you've left the boundaries. The bigger roads, they separate Midtown from other areas, which it also really clearly shows the economic differences as well. For commons, there are many places for individuals to hang out. There's coffee shops, a lot of patios, there are even small breweries, and there are inclusive full districts such as Lavender Heights, which is for our LGBTQ community. These areas keep Midtown social and connected, and keeps that community feeling strong. There aren't many free or structured areas for youth or seniors. However, this is more geared to the young adults, which this could help with more inclusivity. For transportation, there are many areas, there are many ways to get transportation. However, Midtown is very walkable. However, some options are electric bikes and scooters, as well as buses and light rail. Most errands can be done on foot, and traffic does get busy during rush hour now due to the construction, but overall transportation supports an active lifestyle. For businesses, there are a lot of local, family, and ethnic run businesses that they make up a large portion of our Midtown community. There are also thrift stores and cafes and markets that have been there for 20 some years. However, with rising rent, many of the small businesses are struggling to stay open, which is changing the community's identity as a whole. The conditions of the homes and buildings. So most of the homes actually look really good. They're pretty well kept, but some of the older ones are vacant or starting to fall apart a bit. Streets do have potholes and litter and uneven pavement, and longtime residents are feeling the pressure of gentrification, and many older homes aren't ADA accessible due to those long stairs that enter the front door. For people on the street, Midtown is a really, really busy area. There are people jogging, dog walkers, there are people meeting friends. But you also see a lot of unhoused individuals, and in some areas, visibly see substance use. It is a lively area, but it reflects both the community strength as well as the social challenges due to our mental health crisis. For race and ethnicity, Midtown is really diverse. You can see it in the food, in the art, and in the languages. Spanish being one of the most spoken languages. There are many undocumented and DACA residents living here, and they face barriers to healthcare. The community's diversity is really strong, but it also means health services need to be more inclusive. For the age, Midtown has people of all ages. We have families, we have students, we have young professionals, we even have retirees. But as costs rise and the areas get busier, it's kind of pushing our older adults out due to accessibility and affordability. For the density population, Midtown is a really compact, highly dense population, with apartments being close together and having limited parking. The density creates its walkability, actually. That's what supports its walkability and community. However, that means that we have more noise and less personal space. On the right, you can see some directional guides that have been implemented by Midtown Association. For schools and services, there are schools and daycares for families, and there are a few senior living facilities within, but there aren't very many senior centers and community centers. There is a harm reduction facility nearby that provides clean needle exchange and outreach for our unhoused population, and it really does support families really well, but older adults could use more resources. For parks and recreation, Midtown's parks are really clean and actually well used. Community events, and free recreation spaces bring people together and promote healthy lifestyles. Access to our big green spaces is one of the biggest strengths, I would say, of Midtown Sacramento. For protective services, we have multiple fire stations throughout Midtown that actually ensure quick emergency response. However, there's high police presence, which makes some individuals feel safe, but they do hang out around the unhoused populations, which creates mixed feelings for some individuals, especially due to past experiences. For religious centers, Midtown is highly diverse, and it supports that. So Midtown has several churches and temples, such as the Methodist, Catholic, or even Buddhist. These places run food drives, actually, an outreach program for our underserved populations, and they provide great community support. For health facilities, Midtown is actually surrounded by some of the top hospitals, UC Davis, Dignity Health, Sutter, and Shriners. There are also urgent care pharmacies and mental health clinics within walking distance. Access is strong, but affordability remains a barrier for some residents, especially our unhoused population. So for the strengths, concerns, and use of the Windshield survey, the three community strengths that I would say I saw was that there is a strong community involvement through local businesses and events. There is accessibility to healthcare and harm reduction services, which improves health, and it's highly walkable and there's access to a multitude of parks, which promotes physical and mental well-being. Three possible public health concerns is that housing insecurity and gentrification affect the city's affordability for especially our long-term residents. There is visible homelessness and substance use, which shows our mental health and social gaps. And there are littered streets and poor infrastructure, which could impact safety and environmental health. And why public health nurse would do a windshield survey is they might do that to identify health inequities within the community, to be able to advocate for better policies and improvement in access for care for certain populations, especially our unhoused population. And here are my references. Thank you so much.